Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, all.
Good to see you this morning. We were supposed to have Cory from formerly KRP Models on with us, but he hadn't shown up. So hopefully nothing's wrong. But if he shows up, we'll have him on. If he doesn't show up, we won't have him on. So there you go. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. And Dennis is back in the train room.
Hopefully, did you get a spare key hidden outside someplace so that doesn't happen again?
Well, I've got the spare key in the house, and the other key is on the keys to my pickup. So as long as I don't lose the one in the house, I'll be okay. So
you only have two?
Right now I do. Yeah, that's all that comes
three or four
with the kid.
I'd have them all over the place.
Yeah.
One time I lose my key, and now all of a sudden I need 7 or 8. Come on, guys.
Well, after listening to the story, how you did it, I think you need
lock myself
out. Oh my goodness!
You know what you do, Dennis, is do you have a metal detector? Do you do any of that?
I do have a metal detector, but I don't think it works.
Oh. I was going to say, because what you could do, you got all kinds of keys, is just take one, go out in your backyard and chuck it and kind of remember the general area so that if you ever really get desperate, you take your metal detector out and find your key.
Well, I mean, I think that's where my wedding ring is right now, actually, because I think it was while I was painting the blue sky for the staging ground, which has been, a couple years ago. I think while I was washing brushes out in the grass behind the house, I think that's where I lost my wedding ring. And the last time I tried to use the metal detector was out there where I generally thought that it might be, and I couldn't get the metal detector to work. That's how I know that the metal detector apparently doesn't work. Either that
I've never
or
had a problem. My fingers have gotten so fat the ring won't come off. So
yeah,
well,
that's why
my ring was too big from the get-go. And at that particular point in time, I was probably 25 pounds less than I am now, so it was particularly bad. And full disclosure, one time while Pat searching an inmate, the ring hit the ground and rolled 4 feet away from me during the Pat search. So that's how loose it was on my hand during that period of time. So it was no surprise to me that it ended up vanishing. And one of these days, maybe I will get a decent metal detector and maybe I'll get lucky.
Okay, we might have to continue this discussion after Steve reads the.
Yeah, we are kind of deep.
I've got a story on that.
All I could think about, Dennis, was you losing the ring during the strip search. That could be really bad.
I never said strip search, Steve. That's something you invented all on your own.
Oh, we're going downhill real fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let me catch up with chat. Let's see. We got Kyle Stevens, John Knopfel. I hope that's right. Michael Bacarvo. Good morning, Michael. Floyd Robbins. Allison. Good morning, Allie. John Tanzillo. Andy, the hot dog pilot. Schoolkill River Valley. John. Container Man 68. Roy Hardwick. Good morning. JD Grandpa Rails. We got Steve Anderson. Good morning, Steve. Ray Bertelson. Good morning, Ray. Did I say Rob T-Man? Rob, good morning. Chris Brew, my buddy. But we still got to get you on the show, Chris. Get your internet fixed. We got Steven at Wigwag. Good morning, Steven. Let's see. We got Heath. Good morning, Heath. Let's see.
Bernard just stepped in.
Steve who?
Bernard.
Bernard, my buddy. We got Mark Pruitt. Mark Pruitt's here. Good morning.
Dave Todd just came in too.
Hey, Dave.
See you guys.
Yeah. Anyway, if I missed you, I'm sorry.
And Joe Rader just showed up. All the guys that are late.
We got the regular crew.
So anyway, on the vein of losing wedding rings, this is not my original wedding ring. We had taken the kids to Colorado, and we had gone camping over by oh heck, where was it? Town Buena Vista on the Arkansas River, because we were going to go rafting. Well, the water was too high, so we didn't go rafting the first couple of days. And I took my fly rod and went up on Clear Creek, north of Twin Lakes, which is on the way to Aspen. It's on the road that goes over Independence Pass. And I'd gone up there and done some fishing, and then I wasn't doing any good because the water was so high. So I went over to actually, that was a Clear Creek. It was a different creek, but I went over to Clear Creek, which is in the next kind of valley that was where going up to St. Elmo, where they had the Alpine Tunnel just up the hill from there. And there was a little place to fish, and I was fishing there. And I'm out there fishing, and I'm wearing shorts because it's beautiful weather. And I'm fishing along, and I had quit wearing my ring on my ring finger because my hands had gotten too big. So I had it on my little finger. And it fit pretty well. Well, I'm sitting there fishing, and I feel something on my leg, and I look down, and my left leg is almost covered in red ants. So you know what the instinct to do is to start swiping the ants off. So I hit the first swipe, the second swipe, I see this gold thing go flying through the air, hits in the middle of the creek.
Oh no!
And just goes straight to the bottom. Now the water was running way too fast to even be fishing there, because they'd had a lot of snow that year, and it was still really high. Crystal clear, 40-degree water, and it was about 4 foot deep right there, and rocks at the bottom, so I'm sure it got down in the crevice of the rock. It's probably still there, but there's no way I'd have retrieved it. So that was my wedding ring story. It just flung it right off my hand and off into the water it went.
Oh, back in '76, I lost my high school ring. My gold we were up in the snow, and I had 3 sisters, so we're having snowball fights in the up in the Sierra. So there was a 6 foot, 8 foot embankment of snow. Ended up losing my brand new high school ring, and it's like shit. And several months passed, and my ring shows up in the mail. And what happened was there was the guy on the side. The rotary snowplow had gone through and plowed where my ring was and flung it up someplace. God knows where it ended up. And somebody found it. And it had my name engraved on the inside of it. And it said Granada High School. So they figured California, they found Granada High School and found out my address, and they mailed it to me.
Well, that's nice.
Crazy. I still got it too.
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy story there.
Kind of bizarre. Yeah. True story. True story.
See what Mike said. I can have his ring. He won't need it when he gets the next 3 DCC engines show up.
Oh, yeah.
You won't need the house either, Mike.
Start up earlier, just take off.
Yeah.
Dennis, tell him about that.
About what?
Your engine starting up earlier when we were talking.
Oh yeah,
it just takes off.
Yeah, we were sitting here talking, and I plugged my computer in to one of the sockets that's related to Silver Gulch and frying pan. So that socket's dead until I turn the layout on. So I plugged my computer in, turned the layout on, hit the link. Steve and Claude and I here talking pre-show, and all of a sudden the 347 starts backing up into the river. The caboose goes off into the river at speed step 8 and never touched the throttle. It was, nothing was going on with it for at least 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, since the the layout powered up. I don't know what happened there. I guess that's just DCC ghosts.
Yeah, it's haunted. Yeah, so Ghost Creek or something like that's what you need to name that.
Ghost Creek.
Ghost Creek, yeah.
Instead of Maroon Creek, it's Ghost Creek.
There you go. Anyway. Oh, enough of the wedding ring stories.
Now we don't have anything to talk about.
Well, sure, we got plenty to talk about.
No.
We
Yeah.
always do.
So, Bill, now that you got Steve's layout at Steve's house, what are you getting into now?
Jerry?
Steve's layout at Steve's house.
I mean, Jerry's, not Steve's.
Well,
Steve could use some help for sure, but you know.
There's no senility here at all whatsoever.
Bill, you want to rebuild mine?
you know, I'm still considering that as a potential source of income when I do retire, is to, you know, help build small layouts for folks that are interested that maybe don't have the capacity or time to do it themselves. Because I found it fun. It's like I said, you know, I really enjoy building these things. I make them where they run well, but I have more fun building the layout than actually running the layout. I enjoy it, but that sense of accomplishment, you know, as you're fixing and building things is really what motivates me, because I can use the imagination and stuff. But so what I've been doing since like last week. So last week I was working on the trees for the clinic I'm going to be giving at the James River Subdivision NMRA meet next Saturday morning. So I was showing this last week. You know, I have this part done, but then I built a bunch of trees to this point where it's just needing to put the Mod Podge on the tips, and then you can sprinkle the ground foam and static grass to make trees. So these are going to be trees that guys and gals in the clinic will be able to take home with them. And then I also was building the other style of tree, that the furnace filter trees. So I did the same thing in that I created sort of, you know, a little display showing, you know, the initial glue up, like 3 sticks in here where I could have had 5, 6, 7. You know, I could make giant trees or smaller. You know, after I put the toothpick on the top, just to kind of give it the point. You know, here's one that's after I put carpenter's glue all over the trunk and then rolled it. Woodland Scenics ground cover. Like, this is just earth, so it gets it a natural brown color. Cut up just to show different sizes of furnace filter material that I do. So this is like about a 4-inch square. Next one's about a 3. Then you get about a 2, and then about a 1. So it's from those that I will peel the different layers off for the trees. Here's a tree that I just have the rough furnace filter material on it. You know, I've sort of trimmed them into a round shape, but not too picky, just sort of, again, you know, a natural taper. Another tree where I just spray painted it brown so that when I do the flocking, a lot of the interior are going to look like branches. You know, it's going to have that brown coloration, and then a little bit of brown on the trunk just to give it a color. This one then is when I put the first coating of flocking on, where it's got the Woodland Scenics ground cover, the blended greens, and then some of the 2 millimeter stack grass. And then the next one is the same tree, just when I give it what I call the haircut, you know, where I come in with the florist shears and just cut the crap out of it to make it look like I've got individual branches scattered around the tree. And then I glued my offcut from the haircut onto the ground around it, just to show that you can use the offcuts of these trees once you get to this point for ground cover. You know, like thorns, thistles, you know, whatever you've got, briars under trees, perfect for that. And then some additional ones of the wire trees, just so that I've got enough to go around. I'm making about 12 of these blanks that they can be done at the clinic. And then I'm going to have about 10 to 12 blanks of this that I'll take to the clinic, as well as a bag of cut squares so that guys can build their own. And these trees go fast. So somebody can get to this step and be to this step in 10 minutes. They can have a finished tree, really. It doesn't take long. You just flat camo paint, dries super fast. The hairspray that I use is the glue, dries super fast. Then the cut, and you've got your stuff. So that's what I've been doing this week. Next thing that I'll be doing is making up some more tree blanks for these. This is what I was doing just before the show started. I made 3 blanks. I'm going to make about another 6 here before the day is done. And then I'm going to start doing the big oak tree for the O Scale Railroad Club in Iowa. That's keeping me out of mischief for a while anyway.
Well, you need to set up a camera and record your clinic that you do on it.
I might. I'll try to see what space I've got. I know where it's going to be. I've never been there, so I don't know what kind of work area I'm going to have yet.
Yeah. But that'd be interesting content for your channel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what
I think the filter trees look really good. I have no doubt that I will probably build some of those for my layout.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
the thing
I do anything over again, like an HO scale or an O scale, and even potentially an N scale. I'll make the furnace filter trees, again, a lot of them, use them as the background trees because they look natural.
Yeah.
And then I've got different techniques that, you've seen in my videos and others that I'm going to try to make more detailed forward trees. Not a lot, but enough that, again, in different scenes, it'll pull your attention to the highly detailed trees while the other trees blend into the background and give you a natural look. So I've got ideas as I was making these trees on how I can do some different steps or incorporate both techniques into making very super detailed trees, but with minimal effort, because that's what I'm all for. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours making one tree. I'll spend hours and hours and hours making dozens of trees.
Yeah. Well, that's, I made the trees for the little scene block I just finished. And I did all those in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now I didn't go to as many lengths as you did because I used just regular skewers.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of adding something to the top of the skewer like a toothpick, I just took my disc sander and I honed those down to a finer point.
Yeah.
And then started making them. And man, before long, you've got a whole passel of trees there.
Yeah. Long. And it's
that look really good as a group. Now if it's a single tree, it looks a little different, but for me, they're perfect, because you can make them fast. They look better than the woodland scenic trees for sure. And because I needed evergreens, they're not like super trees where they're not evergreen trees. So I love the way it works, and they come out really nice.
Yeah, and the cost is absolutely minimal.
Oh, yeah. Your paint and your hairspray, well, not even the hairspray, but the paint itself is probably the most expensive thing you put on it.
Yeah, about $7 a can. And something that I've wanted to do, but I've just been too lazy to do it, is like when I make trees, actually determine what the true cost is. It's like the grapevine wire that I get at Hobby Lobby. It's about $6 now for a 50-foot spool. But I can get anywhere from about 10 to 15 tree trunks out of it, depending upon size and thickness. So, there's just pennies per tree. You're using spray paint. Again, it's only squirts. A can can do maybe 30, 40 trees the way I do it. Furnace filter material, it's like about $10, I think, for a sheet of this natural fiber stuff. But I can get 50, 60, 70, 80 trees out of that. And then the woodland scenic ground cover, the canisters or whatever, like $8, $9 you can still get. You get blends, static grass. You don't use much. They're inexpensive. They're really probably less than $1 per tree for at least the way that I do it.
Yeah, they're a lot cheaper than when you go to buy them. You can buy some really nice trees out there that are $20, $30 a piece.
You can't afford to. If you were doing a scene, maybe you might consider purchasing a nice looking tree, but for the whole railroad, no.
You got to mass produce them. If you're doing like Steve's scene, behind him, or the one there by Bill, you got to have so many trees that it becomes cost prohibitive to buy them. You just have to make them yourself.
Yeah, and just looking at Bill's scene from this perspective from here, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way, you know, maybe if you got up, you know, 6 inches away and really tried to pick it apart, maybe you could go, I think that's a furnace filter. You know, but
There you are, 6 inches.
You could do that on mine, Dennis.
right,
You couldn't do that on his.
right. That's what I'm saying is that I think that is one of the best mass-produced, at least for conifers. I guess is that the right term? Those are all conifers.
Almost any kind of pine tree, but especially if it's a thick tree like that.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
Yeah,
In fact, some of the ones that I did last year that I put over by the mining district, I want to go back in and actually cut those up some more and add some more material to them because they're a little thin. I did want them to kind of show through, but now that I've done these others that are much fuller, I want to go back and do a little bit more of that on those because they don't look as good now that I've done the second batch. But the second batch is trying to match what's in the background of the backdrop, which is just a lot of trees, kind of like Bill's are there, you know. So they don't have to be individual; they need to fill out, and so I made them a lot fuller one. But yeah, it's a good way to do, especially evergreen trees.
Yeah, and trees are fun. You know, it's something that if you're wanting a break from doing, you know, something else on the layout or from work, it's not quite mindless entertainment, but it's close. You can get into a nice groove, sit, relax, listen to music, and you can crank out a number of trees per day or night, evening, you know, whatever it is. And you've got something that you can put on your layout immediately or later on that you're going to be happy with. And, you know, it's a feel good part of the hobby is doing those kinds of scratch builds.
Well, and they make such a big difference on your layout. It's like adding detail, you know, people details or vehicles or something like that. It starts bringing the layout to life.
And you know, with different scales like HO and O in particular, you know, the store-bought trees that you can get. Again, you know, not knocking any of the different brands because there's some nice trees. They're costly, but they only come like 8-9 inches is the maximum you can do. And on the O scale, I've got a number of trees that are 13-14 inches. You know, you can use this method and other methods to make trees that are more prototypical in height to what you've got as far as your scale. You're not limited to having trees that, you know, massive oak trees that you buy that are at the roof line of, you know, a 1-story house on your layout. It just, you know, you can do more with less, actually.
Yeah. Well, so Dennis, besides locking yourself out of your train room,
Hey, let me stop for a second. I was chatting back and forth. Ray Bertelson, it turns out, went to the same high school that I did, lived in Livermore that I grew up in, and actually lived probably a mile from my house. Small world, man.
What's the difference in age, though?
Well, he graduated in 79. I graduated in 75. So we're only 4 years apart. I just missed him.
Yeah, you'd have been just leaving as he was coming in, it sounds like.
Crazy.
Yeah, Steve was probably picking on him when they were in school.
No, I was the one that got picked on.
Oh, okay. So Dennis, what have you been conjuring up over there?
Well, I mean, I've got module 3, which you can kind of tell it's not there. It's out on the workbench. I've got all of the cork laid, and I'm ready to install tortoises and do the DCC wiring and what little bit of the LCC ribbon cable that it will require. I think I'll be finished with that before the end of the day today. Now, I will. We were talking about this earlier, you know, pre-show. Last night we're camping. Me and the wife we're at the lake, and as I was kind of dozing off, going to sleep, I had this realization in the back of my mind that I didn't wire up the track going to the single staging track to the door. I didn't wire it up to take a reversing unit because there's a Y there. So one of my tracks, and that's the one, has to be set up so that it can flip polarity. And I thought, well, crap. So I've got everything from that track all the way to the door is actually reverse polarity from where it needs to be for module 3. So if I complete module 3, put it back on the workbench, set up the wiring, I will immediately have a dead short. So all the bragging that I did at the end of the video when I got this set up and had the trains, there were no problems whatsoever. I did great. No, I didn't. I completely screwed up. It'll be 3 drops, three of my feeder drops associated with 2 turnouts and the trackage to the door. I will have to come in, pull the wires down, flip them around, and resolder them on the opposite side of the rails where they're at now, which is not any great big deal. I think that whole thing will take less than 15 minutes, especially since nothing's painted. The only thing that I'll have to do that I don't really want to do, I've already glued the track on the staging track to the door, and I soldered the feeders on it on the very bottom of the rail, so you can't get to them, you can't see them. So there's no way I can unsolder those without taking up glued track. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take the 2 wires and put the blue to the white and the white to the blue, and then write a note on the wood next to it that this was intentional and something, so,
And that's just so you can sleep at night, right?
Right. Which that's going to be real easy because I actually put in a terminal block there because I've got number 12 going to it, and then I've got 22 going directly up to the wires. It's just a matter of unscrewing, flipping, and turning them in. So that'll take less.
Yeah, that's what I did. I used small terminal blocks, but that's what I did. Even on the tortoises, they're kind of like the adapters you have in the tortoises are screw down instead of soldering, which makes it a whole lot easier to change it if you mess it up.
And then the only other thing I'll need to do is actually put the Tam Valley reversing unit, the frog juicer, and then put insulation gaps, insulated feeders on the track itself, which was already there, I might add. I knew that I was going to do that. I was insulated on both sides of that track and knew at least a week, if not 2 weeks before, that was exactly what I needed to do. But when I got in the moment of wiring and laying track, it just poof, disappeared.
Yeah, Alan's going to bring cookies next week. We get 40 likes.
What kind of cookies?
They better be chocolate chip.
They'll be Australian.
Oh, yeah. They better be chocolate chip.
Well, what have you been doing lately, Steve, besides driving a school bus?
That's all I've been doing.
How'd you do on your sign sale?
Well, I didn't sell any, but I got some good contacts. Actually, I did sell some after the fact. There was a couple that showed up there that didn't have the cash on hand. So I'm going to hook up with them the next time I drive in Central Point and deliver them the 2 signs that they wanted. So I'm going to sell those. I had one guy that wanted a custom made one. I'm going to do that one. And had another guy that wants a big address and name sign for his daughter-in-law and son. They just bought a new house. And he was wondering if I was interested in a trade for wood. He had a big stack of old wood that's laying around that it's been covered. He didn't want it anymore, so he's going to trade the wood for a sign. That was the score.
Yeah,
And
that's more expensive than.
yeah, that was huge. And the campground that I stayed at, the people are super nice, and they've got a really nice facility and sell stuff on consignment. So I've got 30 signs in their building on consignment. So that could go. So I didn't sell any on site, but I think it was a win all the way around. And
Yeah. And what kind of person goes to a craft show or craft fair like that without cash?
well, yeah, but when you're talking, 30 or $40 for a sign, and he wanted two, who's walking around with, $80 in their pocket?
We live in a cashless society now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And
get a card reader for your phone.
yeah, because actually, well, yeah, yes and no, because then you got to report all that cash, or that money. If it's cash, you don't have to report it. So, it's a learning curve. But I brought my little dog, my little girl, and that was the first time she's a rescue, so that was the first time she'd ever really been away from the house, and especially outside, with a lot of people. And she did really well. I was really surprised at how well she did.
Yeah.
But like I told
out though, didn't she?
what's that?
She crashed out that night though, didn't she?
Oh God, she was so tired. Dogs like to sleep, but she wasn't sleeping at all that Saturday. And you could see it's like the eyes are like, I gotta go to sleep, and then she wake up. But man, as soon as we went to bed, man, she was out. She was gone. But no, we had a good time. I did that, and if I'm not driving, I'm mowing, because I got 3 acres. And I'm either on a riding mower or a string trimmer in the spring. So I've been doing yard work. So that's
Mike
what
says he's not allowed to have cash, and he's screwed if Karen finds out where his credit cards are.
yeah.
Aren't we all? Okay, well, I guess I could take you up and show you what I did. I didn't get much done this week, but I did do a little bit. Let me get this fixed here. Dennis, close your eyes. Here, actually, I'll cover the camera.
Yeah, but Bernard says that was the score on the wood. I agree, man. That's one of the most expensive parts of doing this whole thing is the wood.
What kind of wood does he have?
Pine and cedar and oak, and
a good mix.
Yeah, it's a nice mix, and actually that old wood makes for great signs once you sand it off. It's got, the older wood has a tight grain on it and a different look. So I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah. And more stable overall, like you said, due to the tighter grain.
Yeah. So that's going to be huge. Ooh, look at that.
Still a mess in here. But
Looks
this
like
is the steam break I did with the trees.
Nice.
You can see these are pretty full, and I'll show you the other ones again for the mining district that are a little thinner. But I got the corral that the guys are fixing, the one railing here. I got this put in.
Nice.
This week. Looks a little better from down here when you get the backdrop in the picture.
That looks great, Claude.
Yeah, being the upper deck, it does look really good when I'm standing here. It's just right for me.
Is that a Campbell's kit? Or is it one you did on your own?
No, it's a Campbell's kit. It's very similar to the other ones over, the big ones I did. That was actually 2 different kits bashed together. This one is pretty much their small corral. I don't remember what kit number that was, but I thought, well, I'm going to have it where the guys are fixing it, and so I had to get some more Woodland Scenics carpenters because I didn't have any carpenters. But
You know, Claude, you are a master at blending the foreground with the background. You really cannot see where one ends and the other begins.
Well, that's the trick, is getting the right colors, because you can see the ground cover that's a little more yellow. That's actually static grass that I didn't use an applicator for. I just put it down and hit it with matte medium, diluted. And then the little bushes, I found those at Hobby Lobby. Not Hobby Lobby, found them at Hobby Town. And I had to change the color because they were yellow. And so I added a little bit of a burnt sienna to them to get them a little redder, kind of like what's in the background. It's hard to see on that background, but
I can see it. Yeah.
They're a little bit red back there. But just to kind of give it the same look. And then right in here, where I've got a lot of the green foliage against the, see if I can get a good shot of it there. The green ground cover there, that's covering up the fact that the backdrop doesn't come all the way down to the sub-road bed. Because you can't hardly curve one of these backdrops like that. But this whole area is actually going downhill right here. So I had a gap to fill all the way up to this point. So that's why the static grass like that.
It's very effective.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ready to come back over and finish the rest of the ground cover up here and finish getting the wiring all decked out as far as all the lights for all the buildings once I get all them on there, and then I'll put the fascia on it.
And your trees look like the ones in the background. They blend in really well.
That was the whole thing. And for me, it's a little easier to do that. It's kind of like the mountain, trying to get the mountain to look like the ones in the background. And for me, it seems to be a little easier, but I panic through all that stuff, before I do it, because you never know how it's going to turn out.
Well, Jack says it looks like looking out a window. Where's the end of the background? So that, yeah.
And here's the trees that I did first. This is the first batch I did. So you can see the difference. And you can see I didn't snip them up quite as much as Bill does. And I should have. And I may come back in and do that, add a little bit more to them. I don't want them too thick like the other side, because these are, at a pretty high altitude, and they'll be a little bit thinner. But see, I've got some big ones too. So that one's in the foreground, but then you got the one on the backdrop right there.
Right.
So it's trying to meld those two together. That makes it fun. Getting the scenery to look like the backdrop.
I see a lot of photographic possibilities in your future, Claude.
Oh yeah, I can see a lot of places where somebody knew what they were doing with photograph could get some good shots.
Like that right there. I mean, all you need to do is write an article, and that'll make a magazine, Claude.
Hell yeah.
God, I'd have to spell and everything.
Well, that's what the little red line for is. It tells you when you spell something wrong, unless you're like me, and I even confuse the AI.
And besides, they've got editors anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Now here's the main corral down here by the processing plant.
Yeah.
And this is a couple of different kits that you can see I bashed it because none of the kits are shaped like this.
Hey, Michael says, show us the brothel. Brothel.
I don't have it on the layout right now. That's not really a brothel. It's named after my wife's dog, Lily. And it's called Lily's Pleasure Palace. And I don't know. Here it is right here. But anyway, I got red curtains on it. But I may take the curtains off. And I've got a little pool table and guys playing pool. So I may put that in there. But that's what that's going to be.
Where did you get your backdrops from again, Claude?
Lark Products.
Lark.
Yeah.
See, there's still a part of me that thinks I would like to do that, but I'm also concerned that me by myself could get them put up in a way that I wouldn't end up making a mess and screwing it all up.
Okay, well, all of mine are put up. This is I opted for their more expensive material, which is heavier vinyl. They have self-adhesive, but this is not self-adhesive. I don't know if you've ever seen vinyl shower pan material, but that's exactly what this is, just a little bit thinner than what they use for showers. But I used 3M two-way tape. And that way I can control how fast it went up and keeping it straight all at the same time.
Is that the only thing that's holding it up?
Yep.
Huh.
But try to pull that off without tearing something up. Now that's the good 3M tape. The red, not the red one. I think it's red backed is what it is. Let me see if I've got it here somewhere. Here it is. So it's this one here. Extreme. Two-way tape. Oh, this isn't 3M. This one's Scotch. Scotch and 3M make the same stuff. Now this is another two-way, but it's not as heavy, and I wouldn't use this for it. But the heavy one holds really well. But all the backdrops are put up with the same stuff.
Hey, Claude, Anderson says that that's not much of a brothel. It's only one story, so there can't be much going on in there.
Well, it may get added to. I haven't decided yet, but it may get added to above it. But until I get it up in place, I'm not going to make that decision because I have to work out how much room I'm going to have in that particular spot. But
well, maybe a red light district.
Yeah, well, I can't put it. I don't have room for a whole red light district. But
you know where the term comes from?
Yep,
red light.
Silverton, Colorado.
Well, no, the old railroaders used to take their railroad lanterns, and when they were visiting, they would hang the lantern on the side of the brothel.
Yep.
So that.
But that started.
Yep.
That started in Silverton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they still have the red light district, although it doesn't look much like a red light district now. But a lot of the buildings are still there. But yeah, that's what they did. It just changed around.
Well, Bernard says maybe there's a lot of bunk.
A lot of what?
Bunk beds in the brothel.
Only Bernard would go to a brothel with bunk beds.
Bernard's sick. You're just sick, Bernard.
Yeah, only Bernard would go to a brothel with bunk beds.
We'd have
that's what I did this last week.
We need to get Bernard on the show. That would be very interesting.
I know. I've been
Bernard,
trying to
you
get him
have
on
to
here.
come on.
What was that, Bill?
I said Bernard has to come on.
I know he has to come on. We may have to go out there to
Elko,
yeah, Nevada, and get him on. Physically get him on.
Yeah.
Show up like a TV crew.
Yeah.
When they say we'll definitely have professional houses on my layout because there were so many, only 4 houses left now in town. Yeah. Well, you're in Nevada, man. It's legal.
So's everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry we didn't get Cory on today, but maybe we'll get him on at a later date. I'm not sure if he ran into some problems or what, but
Well, I've got I'm lining up. He's a engineer for Class 1. He runs for Amtrak now. He's a model railroader. He's building a 1-inch scale GP60M, and he wants to be on. So that would be interesting. I'm trying to work out the details on that.
yeah, just work out a time that he wants to be on. Brian Jones is going to be back on with us after I get back from vacation in June. So we'll be having him on too. Oh, I'm not going to repeat that, but that's pretty funny. Oh my God.
Oh dear.
Mike, you've been sniffing too much glue while you're building kits, man. That's all I got to say. Sniffing too much glue. Anyway, what do we got? We got 15 minutes left, guys. The first 30 went flying by, and then now we're like, oh. So, anybody got any questions?
I do.
Okay.
How much more was the, what'd you call it? The better backing for the
It wasn't much because he
Much
prices
more?
it per square foot. So you can figure it pretty easy. It's on his page. Let me see if I can find the link right quick, and I can put it up on here. I want to say it was like $10.50 a square foot for the better one, and he's got like three different deals. He can also change stuff on it. He can reverse pictures. He can take stuff out, stuff like that. There was a lot of shots.
$10.50 per square foot.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So most of those backdrops up there were between $150 and $200. Not, depending on how big they were. Some of them are real short and they were less than $100. But
Yeah, that reminds me why I hand painted all of this.
oh yeah, it's not cheap. It doesn't matter which
Yeah.
ones you get.
Oh, speaking of that,
But
Dennis,
for what I wanted up there, I mean, when I saw his page, I thought that's what I'm going to put on there because I just like the photos. But he had a lot of photos that had modern day buildings or cars or something in there. I could have got him to take them out. But I didn't want to go to that much trouble. I don't know if that would have cost a lot more or not. He reversed one for me for no cost. So I don't know, if it would cost more to do that, but he will do it if you want it.
hey Dennis, I wanted to make on your update that you just did when you were showing the valance idea on your time saver. That's the first time I really got a good look at your mountains that you painted on the background of that. Those look really good, man. All the shadows and stuff. It reminded me of the joy of painting, and
Yeah.
I mean, those look really good.
Thanks.
Yeah, Dennis, you could paint. You're good enough at it that you can paint it a lot cheaper than you can.
Yeah, I still haven't proven to myself yet that this and that wasn't an accident.
Well, I'm the same way.
I'm still not sure that I can continue doing that well.
Yeah,
They're all
totally understand.
You will.
Don't you remember, Dennis? It's everything's a happy accident.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, for me, that's definitely true.
What is Jack says? Those switches behind you, do they work better than toggle switches?
I think he's talking about the light switches right there.
These?
Yeah, is that what you're talking about, Jack? The light.
I mean,
the light switches.
My
there?
quick answer is that they work exactly the same. The only difference is that it's easier to get number 12 wire in there. I'm not sure if that's why he's asking,
or the control panel, because you use push buttons.
Well, maybe he's talking about these.
Are those push buttons like on the time saver?
Yeah, these are my route switches. So one of those. Of course, I don't know that he could see that they're push buttons, but one of those can throw up to 5 turnouts at a time, give or take, depending on the route you take.
He's talking about the light switches.
Yeah,
so those are all power.
These are just to turn off and on power to various locations on the layout, so that things power on, I guess, systematically, and I'm not overloading any one thing at a time. That was my thought at the time that I did it. I've got one more that I will end up adding for the rest of the railroad.
Steve wants some cookies.
Cookies.
Over 40 likes.
Chocolate chip cookies. We're close. We need a few more likes. Come on, guys.
Really?
Thumbs up. We get cookies.
Yeah, we never ask for thumbs up, guys. That's
Well, we
just
do
not what we do here.
if
Do
there's
what?
Yeah. If food
if
is
there's
involved.
cookies involved. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, like I say, we don't normally do that, but we will for cookies.
We will for
Allie, you
cookies.
better get the bacon.
Boy, the shipping's going to be crazy for you, Alan. Yeah.
Uh,
Shipping cookies from Australia.
so anyway, um, Steve
Anyway,
Steve
what?
Childers sent me an email with, I think it was an email. Was it an email or I don't remember now.
Ooh.
Sent
Michael
me
said,
an email with a train show that was going to be coming up, and I'm wanting to say it was an email. Let me look here right quick.
Michael McCarver says there's beer at 100.
Is he providing?
I guess he said it, so he must be.
I'm going to take him at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a November train show, but there's one in Plano, Texas.
He'll bring it.
It's not showing up. I don't know why it's not coming up on here. That's
Mike
weird.
says he'll bring the beer.
Mike's going to bring the beer. Okay.
We're at 36 and 36.
Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to put the link to the backdrops, but you're probably not going to want to get them because you'd have a lot of backdrop to have to buy.
Yeah. What links do they come in?
Some of them are,
8 feet?
yeah, some of them are unlimited. I think you could probably get it in even longer than what he says. I think there's a way to, if you mail him, email him and talk to him, or call him and talk to him about what you want or what you're trying to do, he can probably do some special stuff for you. Now, whether or not that costs more, I couldn't tell you. I would imagine there'd be some in there. Where is it?
Well, there's a few places that I think, maybe I could use one that would enhance specific locations, and then there's other places where I don't need anything but blue sky. So
Yeah.
I'll continue to think about it. I had planned on painting this up here right above, and I was thinking that might be something I might even do this winter. I don't know, because I have an idea of what I want there. I haven't found it yet. There is a specific view. I can't remember if it's on Cummers and Toltec or if it's on the Durango and Silverton, where your view from the train looking out is basically a downhill look. And if I could convey that there, because as the route comes across the workbench, I like the idea of that maybe being a high point and everything beneath it, but I'm not sure that I can pull it off well. That perspective, I think, would be a little difficult to do. And I haven't found the perspective I'm looking for precisely. So therefore, I'm not sure I can do it until I see it.
Yeah. Well, he's got tons of them. He's got some, most of mine are from his autumn collection in Colorado, not all of them, but he's also got a Colorado Southern collection. And he's got some Southwest stuff that you might be able to find something you're looking at. It just depends on what you're actually looking for. I saw the mountains, the Colorado mountains, that he's got a whole bunch of those, but it's, mainly greenery. It's not a lot of aspen in the background, but I wanted the fall colors. So that was a little tougher to find everything I needed. But like the one on the lower level behind the cattle pen and the processing plant, that is just a big shot of South Park in Colorado there, just west of Pikes Peak, big flat area. And that's exactly what I needed for that area. And it even has cows in the backdrop. So it just looks really good. And then I took that Woodland Scenics barbed wire fence, which looks fantastic when you put it up on the layout, and I put it right against the backdrop. And it just really brought those two together when I did that. So it's amazing what little things you can do to draw the backdrop and the foreground together.
Right.
And you just got to kind of play with it in each scene and see what works the best.
Does he take like custom work? Like say you had photographs of the area that you're modeling, and would he take photographs that you take and then make the backdrops too?
I would imagine he would if the photo's a good enough pixel count that he can blow it up and get it to look like something.
Yeah.
Because when you blow a picture up, it's got to have a high pixel count, or it's going to look like crap when you get it blown up.
Yeah.
He'll also do, he asks you what scale you're working in. All of that kind of figures in on it. But you can get them in different heights. I mean, he's on his site. He's got a form that you fill out, and he's got all these different dimensions that he wants. And then he'll send you a proof for you to okay before he prints it and you pay for it.
Yeah.
But they come rolled up in a tube, like I say, I get the heavier one. I don't know what the other ones are like, but they're a little lighter weight, I think, which, depending on your situation, you could probably use. But
Yeah.
And I didn't want the self-adhesive because I was going to be putting them up by myself. So I needed something I could control as I was doing it.
Yeah, I never considered that. That's been one, aside from the cost, that's been one of the turnoffs for me, is that being able to get it put up. But I never considered just using double-sided tape and, not attempting to glue it to the backdrop.
Yeah. And well, like I say, I think I started with the 3M. That roll I showed you was Scotch, but it's the same exact stuff. But it's the extreme hold.
Yeah.
And if you want to pull it off of there, you'll have to work at it. And you probably either pull the finish off of the masonite, which I put up for the backing for that, or you're going to rip a hole in the vinyl. It's very tough to get off of there. I have taken it off and had to move a corner, and it's not easy to pull loose. You can do it, but it's not, you have to work at it. It's not going to fall off of there. Now in the lighter weight stuff, if you used it on there, you may not get it off without ruining the backdrop. But you could also use like a Scotch tape kind of two-way to temporarily put it up. And then once you get in it, because that would come off a lot easier to move it. And then once you get it where you want, then go back with the 3M tape or the Scotch tape, or the Scotch brand two-way sided tape, the good stuff.
Well, I had hope that most, I haven't really discussed it much, in any of my video content, but there's places where I'm hoping that I can have mountains and or trees go into the valance so that there's not a lot of need for a backdrop in some places. And my thought is that will create, I guess, size and grandeur that doesn't really exist. If you've got mountains and trees going up into your valance, that's going to convey a little more, I guess,
that's what I did with that seam break.
Have otherwise.
That's what I did with that seam break. Those mountains go all the way to the top of the backdrop where the backdrop will be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that does a lot of that. And if you have enough depth from the wall, it makes that easier to do. If you're on a narrow shelf, it's almost impossible to do that.
Yeah.
Without making sheer cliff. Like
one more thumbs up. We get cookies.
Has my wife even showed up in the chat?
No,
I have not seen her.
Where's my phone? I'll text her. She probably hasn't liked it.
You got one more.
One like.
So is it 40 likes during the show, or can it count after? Because as soon as we're done, then usually I go back and rewatch and like it.
Yeah. And Mark says he uses wallpaper paste, and Dave says you also eat that paste. Oh,
Hey,
that reminds me of kindergarten.
we hit 40 likes.
Yeah, well, that's our time, guys. We gotta get out of here.
And we hit our 40 likes.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, Allie, we want cookies.
Is that the new record? Is that
Yep.
from moving this point forward? Our next goal is 41.
Why not?
You know, I never checked, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it is. Anyway, thanks, guys, for being here today. I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend and good week. And Bill and Steve and Dennis,
Yep.
as usual, guys, had a good time.
Have
Yep.
fun building your railroads.
Yep. Take care and keep them moving.
Peace out,
See you later.
man.
See y'all.